Hey guys, BOTCG here, back with another deck profile. This time I am updating my ALDEN list. I really do hope, I'm not aware that if he's getting any support in the future besides the Grade 3 promo. I haven't gotten my hands on that card yet, but honestly, reading its effects, I don't think it's enough or necessarily what this deck really needs. Honestly, what it really needs is more powerful beaters and more like payoffs for what this deck is trying to do during its turn and during the battle phase. In my personal opinion, like maybe another card that gives more superior call effects to the Vanguard, just because of the way that the Vanguard works, that it lets you bounce back cards to your hand that you overcall if they were overcalled by this unit's effect. But with what I feel like the deck currently wants to be played, this is what I was able to come up with. And I was actually really proud because I was cooking in the kitchen for a long time with this deck, man. And I thought for a second, man, I'm overcooking. There's no way to make this deck good. And then like I finally found like all the pieces that bridge together perfectly the way they want it to be bridged together. But getting on into the engine, not as much engine as my other decks, unfortunately. We just don't have enough cards for this strategy or enough cards that do what Protection Alden wants to do. 3 copies of Persona Ride. You really do need 3 copies of Persona Ride in this deck. Persona Ride is technically searchable if you superior call it. If you call it and then you call over it with the Vanguard's effect to bounce it back. But and it's searchable off the ride line too. So you have a couple ways of guaranteeing that you do get it. 3 copies of, geez, I don't even know what her name is. Hold on a second. Razalonial. 3 copies of Razalonial. I felt like 4 was too cloggy. Once you have 1, you can just guaranteed keep recycling that 1 as long as you don't leave it on board. If you have 2, you get to do more powerful plays based if you're going first or second, but you only ever really need 1, and that's why I'm playing 3 over the 4 copies. And then for the last of our grade 3s, we're playing Determination with the Blade of Protection. Now this, when it first came out, I didn't understand why they made this order. It didn't seem that good when it first came out. I was like, well, you already get the restand off of Razalonial, so why do you need this order? But with the support that it did get in DZ set 5, 4 copies of, I don't know her name either, Del Piercy. 4 copies of Del Piercy. Del Piercy with this order is a force to be reckoned with. Del Piercy by herself with your Vanguard skill is a force to be reckoned with, just because ideally you want to call at least one of these and then call something random, if not another one of these. Vanguard's Divine skill, call out 2 Del Piercys, have the Del Piercy, what Del Piercy does is when she's superior called by your Vanguard's effect, she can give another unit 5k. If she was called on top of something, she can give it 10k instead of 5k. And this is what I use to like because like you get a superior call off the Vanguard and then this gives your Vanguard another superior call. You're superior calling 2 of the front row. More often than not, I pump a back row and reuse that back row with Razalonial's restand ability. If my opponent's grade 3 or greater, I can restand a rear guard. I restand that booster. So with Del Piercy and this order, you can make some really powerful lines like outside of your Airmac. Airmac by himself is disgusting. Like you still play Airmac even though you do have Del Piercy. I did try cutting Airmac, but I just needed more powerful attackers and Airmac was just a house by himself. When he's called, if you have a Vanguard of Alden, you can give him 5k. If he was superior called by one of your abilities, he gets 15k instead of 5k, which is really nice. Really nice for this deck. And then for the last of our in-archetype engine cards we're playing 2 copies of Wedgefluence Dragon. He's just your Vanguard booster. He soul charges, which soul is very important in this deck. You Soul Blast 1 off of your ride line, 1 for Divine Skill, and then you Soul Blast 1 every time you restand a rear guard. So you are using quite a bit of soul in this deck, and that's why I was originally just playing 1, just because like I have good chances of seeing it, but I bumped it up to 2 just to make sure I see at least 1 in one game. For our non-engine of the deck, we're playing 4 copies of Teofault. The reason that we're playing 4 copies of Teofault is because this is a order deck. Teofault lets me grab the order from the top 5 if I've already played one this turn, so I have follow-up for next turn, so I can do the same powerful play I did this turn, I could do it next turn. And she's a 20k beat stick by herself if your opponent's grade 3 or greater and you have 4 or more units, which is like I said, the flaw of this deck right now, and the reason why we're running the non-engine that we are running, is it doesn't have enough beaters. It doesn't have enough payoffs for what you're doing outside of Del Piercy and Razalonia. Like, you don't have enough payoffs for what you're doing, in my personal opinion. So that's the reason why we're running the non-engine that we are running for this deck. 4 copies of Sergaion, one of the few decks that can still play it. It just makes sense. This is an order deck. This is a deck that's going to fill up its rear guards fairly quickly. So more often than not, this is quite often always live. If you see this in the early game, don't be afraid to pop it. Or if you know your opponent is going to build a board and you're going second, don't be afraid to swing for 21, boosting behind the Vanguard. Leave it there, don't retire it, and then you can swing for 23 with your grade 2 rear guard. So you technically have 2 guaranteed hits if they're not threatening a 1 to pass on you, which is really nice. And if you know that for a fact they're not going to make a bigger board than you. And then for the last of our non-engine, arguably the best portion of our non-engine is we're playing 2 copies of Deco Razor Angel. What Deco Razor Angel does is that she's a 5k that she gives she has the effect that a unit in the same column as this attacks. That unit gets 5k until the end of battle. So the weakest part of this deck is more often those first few attacks that you do get off. So she's an easy way of making sure, like Razalonial, she can attack for 18 by herself, or 23 with a boost if we're restanding Deco Razor Angel, instead of just like 13, because she doesn't give herself any power. Like, I understand she does a lot for this deck, but man, like, it really shows that this not being any type of powerful attacker, like, by itself, like, really hurt the deck. Really hurts the deck. But this kind of alleviates that issue. Now, if we get an in-archetype card that does something similar to this, but more powerful in the near future, that'd be really nice. Like, if that's what the promo did, instead of giving, like, 5k to its, like, I think it's just like a 13k booster, 5k shield that can restand. If it would have been given, like, 5k to the front row unit in front of it, that would have been so nice. That would have been so nice. And given itself like 2k power, but maybe that would have been too good for Bastion. That's why they made it the way they made it. But because it's dual Bastion and Alden, which I really hate when they make cards like that, because either one archetype doesn't care about the card at all, or they made the card so good that both archetypes need it, and then it's artificially inflated, which I'm just not a fan of that design philosophy at all. Moving on to the rest of the deck, we're playing 4 DPGs. The reason that we're playing no Blitz Order Perfect cards or no other orders besides the Grade 3 order at all is because of Alden's superior calls to rear guard. So you can theoretically add perfect guards from rear guard to hand when you call on top of one. So that's a good reason why to keep all the perfect guards unit perfect guards. One of the blue overtrigger in this deck. The reason we're playing the blue overtrigger over the Keter OT, I was trying the Keter OT in the beginning of this deck. It was okay. It wasn't necessarily game breaking, but what I found was that in the early game, I'm not really committing any rear guards to board besides like maybe Sergaion behind my Vanguard. So checking the Keter OT in that instance would essentially be a blank. And I didn't want my overtrigger to be a blank when I checked it. I want my overtrigger to be guaranteed do something whenever I check it. So that's why I went to the blue overtrigger versus the Keter overtrigger. Even though the Keter overtrigger, ideally, if you're checking it off on a pop-off turn, is very nice, but you're not guaranteed to check it off on a pop-off turn. You're as likely to check it off going second on your grade 1 or grade 2 turn as any of your grade 3 turns. But moving on to our triggers, 3 of the 20k front. I was playing the soul fronts for a while in this deck, but when I bumped up Wedge Fluence Dragon, I didn't have any problems with soul anymore, so I didn't feel like there was any reason to play those anymore. So 20k front, just because, as you can see, we're running quite a few grade 3s in this deck, so you don't have that much shield value. You have one of the new grade 2 is like a 10k grade 2, but you don't really want to guard with her. You want to keep reusing her and looping her to just boost up your other rear guards. 4 copies of the Into Soul crit, 4 regular crit. I'm so glad I kept this critical trigger. This is my favorite vanilla critical trigger Keter art. It's just really nice. And then 4 vanilla heals. Not much to say here. When they make a good effect heal that is actually playable and it's not super niche, then I'll play it. But that is my deck profile for Alden. This is honestly, out of all the divine ones, probably one of the more rogue picks. I think like you can easily very effectively play Alcalibra into this field. You could play Impaldio into this field. You can play, obviously Levidress is probably the best divine one right now still. But it's one of the weaker ones right now, unfortunately, just because it's gotten the least amount of support to support the Divine One strategy. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. We're going to have more content like this in the future. I will be uploading more game matches of the Alcalibra deck and of the Alden deck, because I know I have 0 matches of the Alden deck. I have a few matches of the Alcalibra deck with the changes, but I have updated it since then, so I do want to get more of... I want to get more of a true grasp of what these decks are trying to do with the way that I built them. But anyways, guys, later.